What is going on, everybody? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, and I just had to put this up here. Shout out to the Nets. They're going to be heading to Cancun just a little bit earlier right now. Looking pretty nice, looking like clear skies, looking like a great vacation stay. But in all seriousness, this was obviously a great series for the Boston Celtics. We obviously proved to everybody that we're serious business. Again, I know I have been very critical of my Boston Celtics, and, rightfully so at the beginning of the year, right? The first half of the season, we didn't play very well. And this year, I should say this latter half of the year, obviously going into 2022, we've turned it up a notch. We've turned it up a whole nother gear that I think even the people that are Boston Celtics haters would have to agree that we played very well. So with that being said, hopefully you guys are enjoying your kind of Friday afternoon. I guess maybe not Friday, it's Monday. What are we talking about here? It's Monday. And I decided to record this video. I'm going to probably put it out tonight. I was going to go live, but I just have some stuff that I have to take care of a little bit later on, so I can't be live all night. I can't be live for the full hour, so I'm just going to probably put out a 30 to maybe 45 minute, maybe more so 30-minute video, I would say, if that even, and really talk about what happened in the series and what's going on. Obviously, the clearest thing as possible is that the Nets are officially no longer in the playoffs. We had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, one of the most skilled duos in the NBA. A lot of people had them as their finals prediction. I had that as well. I think I had, if I'm not mistaken, I had the Lakers and the Nets. So that goes to show you how much, sometimes it just does not go your way. And this is the perfect example of it. And so before we get started talking any of this stuff, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Remember, the more likes and the more subscribers, the more this channel can grow and develop into something that truly here on The Charge we care about, and that's creating content for the sports person, for the sports viewers. And so we will be hopefully venturing out into other sports as well, but I will let you know when the time comes for that. But in the meantime, just check into our NBA analysis. Obviously, me being so passionate about the sport of basketball, basketball is obviously going to take the forefront of my life, whether that's me coaching or whether that's me talking about basketball on here. But nevertheless, let's talk about what just happened. And like I said, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe, and comment why you think the Brooklyn Nets lost this NBA first round series. All right, so to kind of begin with the obvious of everything is that I felt the Brooklyn Nets were missing a lot of things, and I think defense was the biggest thing for me. We all know how special Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant can be at times when they are in a flow, when they get the mojo going. The problem is, can the duo and their cast of role players help them with the defense that they need? So, for example, the Brooklyn Nets gave up almost 5 rebounds a game, and I think those are offensive rebounds. If we look at the offensive rebound stats, they almost gave up 3 rebounds a game. I think it was like 2.5, if I'm not mistaken. Looking at the stats here on the screen. 2.5 rebounds is way too many. I mean, this is just extra opportunities for the Boston Celtics, and we even saw it in the final possession of the game. Marcus Smart goes up for a layup, and who is there to pick up the rebound? It's Al Horford, without anybody trying to come in and help out on that situation. And that, to me, is I would say, if I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, that's probably the most frustrating thing, I would say, out of everything that you saw here tonight. And the reason why it would be frustrating is because you made some great stops. You made Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who fouled out in this game, take some really tough shots, and the fact that you couldn't stop them is mind-boggling to me. Or maybe you stopped them, but then you didn't get the offensive rebound. I just think the other players on this team, whether it's Claxton, Drummond got less and less minutes. Blake Griffin got a huge amount of minutes in this game. Dragic got some minutes. I mean, this to me kind of goes to show you how fragile this NBA Brooklyn Nets team can be at times defensively. Like, they just don't have anybody that can help rebound. Like, if we look at the rebounding stats for the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant was leading it with 5.8. And that to me just can't happen, especially when you have guys like Claxton, or I should say Claxton was leading with 6.3, but you had guys like Andre Drummond only getting you 3 rebounds a game. I don't care how many minutes he was playing, still crazy that he only got that many rebounds. You look at the other stats here for the rebounding category. Kyrie Irving with 5, Bruce Brown with 4.8. I mean, this to me just kind of goes to show you that their size is a huge factor. As soon as Kevin Durant goes out, like, all you have left is Claxton, and that's just a no-go for me. I think, like, when I look at the whole stats here and there, rebounding was definitely one of them. Steals, we could see that the Boston Celtics led in that category with Jaylen Brown with 2.5. Marcus Smart with 1.3. And other than that, everyone else on the Brooklyn Nets didn't have that many steals. The turnovers obviously were led by Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's first 2 games were absolutely atrocious. And it kind of goes to show you like how perfect, and I've talked about this numerous amount of times on the stream already, is how many times does Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have to be absolutely perfect? I'm talking about both of them playing together at the same time. Have to be absolutely perfect in order for this team to win. Kevin Durant is a great one-on-one player. He's a great offensive threat. But tonight, and you can see it tonight, but in the last 3 games that he played in, he didn't really have that tenacity and that energy that you would expect from a superstar player of Kevin Durant's caliber. And the frustrating thing, if I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, and again, I keep saying that because I would probably be frustrated knowing that I got swept 4-0. They led in turnovers in the series. They led in, they led in field goals. They didn't lead in attempts and makes. I mean, we saw the difference between how many they shoot versus how many versus the other team. And it seems like to me that the Celtics got off way more shots. Excuse me. Got off way more shots. And meanwhile, you have the attempts from the Celtics versus the Nets. We had 84.3 for the Celtics to about 78 for the Nets. So you can see that the Celtics, with that offensive rebound, were able to get extra possessions, and why their shooting percentages were so high, and why they were able to shoot a lot more, because they were able to get those offensive rebounds. They led in in field goal free throw percentage, which is a huge thing. You could clearly see that in tonight's game. Kevin Durant missing a huge one. And, I'm not going to be like one of these analyst pundits like Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, who just like to say things for the vernacular, or not the vernacular, but to be, extra about it. I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to when I look at it, it really comes down to this. The Boston Celtics played a hell of a defensive chess match against the Brooklyn Nets, and you can clearly see that the Celtics are a for real team. And, no disrespect to the Nets thinking that they could have won this series. You had Bruce Brown talking about like, oh, they're without their center. We're going to definitely win this. And then Kevin Durant trying to tame him down or tell him to calm down, man. Like, that's not going to happen. And you can clearly see that Kevin Durant knew the writing was on the wall. This Celtics team is a lot different than 2 years ago. You have a Jason Tatum who is absolutely phenomenal at passing. We look at tonight's game, 5 assists. That's about what he's going to average. Like, he's not going to be averaging more. He's not going to be averaging less. Boston does a great job of sharing the rock. I mean, Marcus Smart with 11, Jason Tatum with 5. And to me, excuse me, why I am so loving the Celtics team so much is because when you have a superstar in Tatum who, everyone was wondering, can this guy take the next step? Is he the guy to take the Boston Celtics to that next level? He went and showed you that next level. He went and showed you how good he can be as an all-around number one guy on the team. And, he credited on the JJ Redick podcast, and I talked about it a couple of nights ago. He knew that it was his fault why they lost those series back then. And the bubble was a clear example of that. We saw him take some ill-advised shots, some shots that I probably would have been pissed off if I was his teammate or even coach, just because it was one of those situations where it was too quick in the shot clock, or, it's one ball reversal and you're like, okay, I got to shoot it. Whereas I feel like Tatum now understands the game a little bit more, and you can clearly see that it does take, age and experience to win these championships and to win these type of games. I mean, especially 4 in a row. The Boston Celtics, we got to tip our cap off to them. They played a tremendous game. Grant Williams playing tremendously as well. Probably not the best shape of his, NBA postseason, but I think he did enough to kind of be able to be a key contributor and play 33 minutes, which is just about as much as anybody on this team, quite frankly. I mean, Jaylen Brown played 38. Jason Tatum only played 36, just due to the fact that he had a terrible foul call. Scott Foster games, I'm done with them. I feel like he has a vendetta against people, and so I'm hoping that we can get Scott Foster banned from the NBA officiating crew. Not really. It's just frustrating because I feel like there's times where there's some calls that are good, some calls that are bad, but I just felt like tonight was just a lot of bad calls. I even thought that Seth Curry 3 at the third quarter where he shot it and then stuck his side out, I thought that was also a bad call as well. That should have been an offensive foul, because the NBA has made emphasis that we're not allowing those type of plays. The Reggie Miller, stick out your foot, is the same thing that Seth Curry did. He shot the ball and then kind of stuck out his side so he could get hit and clipped by Jason Tatum, who was going to the side. And again, I would be frustrated about Jason Tatum. But at the end of the day, the Boston Celtics did enough. The only person that I was really disappointed in, to be frank with you guys, was Derek White. I thought he didn't really play a tremendously perfect game. I thought there was times where he was hesitant in shooting. He was 0 for 4 tonight. I didn't really like his demeanor tonight. I thought he could have played a little bit more aggressive, could have maybe been a little bit more consistent. And that's something that the Celtics are going to need for this next round, especially if we're going to play Milwaukee, which is more likely than not. We are going to play the Milwaukee Bucks in the next round. And, without Chris Middleton, we have to take advantage of this opportunity. We have to be on the offensive end. And I just think that that's the way it's going to have to go. Otherwise, we could be losing that series. But at the end of the day, I think the Boston Celtics, are a great team. They obviously came back. They won a bunch of games going into the second half of the season. 51-31 was their regular season end. And I think it's just the beginning of what we could see as a great playoff run. I would love to see the Celtics versus the Warriors. I think that would be a great NBA Finals matchup. I just think defensively we could do a great job doing what I believe the 2016 Cavaliers did to Steph Curry. And I think we could do the same thing. Obviously they have more weapons, but I think we have weapons as well compared to them. And then to quickly talk about the Nets, when it comes down to it, my frustration for the Nets, another frustration, if you will. I keep saying like my frustration, but like I said, I would be frustrated because when you have a guy like Ben Simmons who was cleared to return, there was clearly nothing going on until they said, barring any setbacks, Ben Simmons should be back. And he was not there. And the worst part was that he was not there tonight for his teammates. And that just goes to show me that what he really truly cares about. I mean, let me look it up really quick for you guys. I know this is very unprofessional on the Charge, not having this stuff out already for you guys. And really kind of go to what we talked about here. Let me see if I can find it. I guess it would be this story. So we can kind of read it. So after meeting the Brooklyn Nets, mental health remains the focus of Ben Simmons' career. And of course, Adrian Wojnarowski talked about this in a series of tweets, but I'll just read it for you in this article here. In a meeting with Brooklyn Nets leadership on Monday afternoon, Ben Simmons and Clutch Sports' Rich Paul spoke about the physical and mental hurdles remaining in the All-Stars' pursuit of return to play, a decision that made clear to participants a need to keep addressing the mental side of that process, sources told ESPN. Simmons reiterated that he has consistently told the team officials since his arrival from the Philadelphia 76ers he wants to play and perform for the Nets as soon as possible. That's a lie. And still wasn't ruling out the happening this season if the Nets survived Monday's elimination against the Boston Celtics. Sources say Boston won. It is what it is. The Nets made clear that to Simmons and Paul that the organization plans to continue giving the three-time All-Star every resource needed a shot in the short and long term, sources said. After nearly a 2-week of pain-free ramp-up, the Nets and Simmons believed he was on the cusp of playing until Simmons arrived at the team's practice facility on Sunday, reporting a return to back soreness. Here's what I'll say. I really don't think that it is having to do with mental health. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know it's taboo to talk about it, but I really don't think Ben Simmons' mental health was really, I mean, maybe I would say the only thing I would say was just the fact that he got hecklessly booed by his fans in Philadelphia. And that's just kind of the reality of sports. I think Philadelphia fans are very aggressive. They're very, confrontational at times. And you can clearly see that with the way that they just respond on Twitter, respond on any other social media platform. They're very aggressive. And, I don't necessarily blame Ben Simmons for feeling some type of way that, like, I did everything for the city and these are how the fans are going to repay me. But what I can't fathom is that there was no talk of this at all during the time he missed that layup to about the time he came back to training camp for the 76ers. And I talked about this on the stream many times. This is what really grinds my gears. We talk about mental health being a huge part. Royce White being one of those guys back then. I think he played at Iowa State, if you will. Someone fact check me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he played for Iowa State. He was one of the first guys that I remember talking about mental health being a huge factor into why he couldn't fly with his teammates when he got drafted to Houston. There was a huge commotion from the NBA and in the Houston Rockets about, he needs to be able to fly. And there's he has a fear of flying. And I just think that from what I remember, I think that was just something that he had to deal with, and it just kind of felt like he was at the wayside. And I felt like that was a true serious case where the NBA kind of failed its player in helping him go with this mental health stuff. And as much as I think Ben Simmons, maybe could have had it at some point. I mean, I'm sure everybody has had kind of some mental health situations, whether it's Ben Simmons, LeBron James. I'm sure LeBron James has had it. But the thing that I admire most about some of these other players, more so than Ben Simmons, is that they didn't try to go many different routes, right? He went with he's injured to, he's not going to play anymore, like forget it. And then it's like, oh, well, he's injured. Let him go back to training camp and get that $20 million that he's trying to sue the NBA for. And then you get to the situation that we're at right now where he didn't play tonight. He didn't even sit on the bench tonight. And that to me, I would take issue with that if I'm Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. The fact that you couldn't sit down, and I know it was a prearranged, back alignment that they have to do. They got to go to the chiropractor, get his back straight, try to do all this other type of stuff to get him going. My thing is that you have to be there for your teammates. Ben Simmons lives too much in the Twitter land, in the Twitter sphere, where it affects him mentally. And it's the same thing that I feel like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant live in that same reality as well. We know Kevin Durant likes to respond to anybody and everybody, whether it's on his burner account, whether it's on his regular account. He wants the smoke, and he will talk to you if you're not talking to him properly. And I can respect that he at least does that, but there's times where I feel like he does it too much to where it affects him trying to play the game. And we even saw it tonight. I'm not saying that, him going on Twitter is the reason why they lost tonight. I think that he just played poorly in the last 3 games, and he stepped up in this game, but Kyrie Irving didn't. Or Kyrie Irving did not. And so for me, when I look at all this stuff, Ben Simmons has to be there for his teammates. Like, I don't care if it's a bad look. I don't care if you're not playing. The fact that you couldn't even be there for your teammates to support them and to have them there, to be there for them, whether win or lose, it just kind of goes to show me what kind of teammate you are. You're not a guy. You're not a we guy. You're a me guy. And the fact that you are just so much about yourself, so much about your brand, so much about your money, goes to show me that I now know what you care about the most when it comes to this league. The only thing you really care about the most is the money. And hey, I have no problems with you caring about the money. Get your money. I never have said players never get your money, to always take the discount. I always tell, and my friends can back me up on this, I'm always player first in terms of getting your bag. It's the same as when you leave a job and get more money, you're going to leave that job and get more money. You're not going to stay at the same spot. Even if you say like, hey, I would like, some money or like a 30% increase, and they say no, and another company offers you, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that in the NBA. I'm okay with that in real life. What I'm not okay with is you not being there for your teammates, now expecting to go through all these hula hoops and mental gymnastics to say like, hey, I deserve that $20 million. I'm sorry. It just goes to show what type of player Ben Simmons is. It goes to show you what type of mentality he has when it comes to this league. It's not one where he's excited. It's not one where he is about that action. It shows to me that all he cares about is himself. And that's not what the Nets need. And kind of going back to my point about the 3 guys, I just feel like those 3 guys love social media so much. They love kind of the attention that they get online, the dopamine of getting from your phone, that notification from Twitter, notification from Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if people still use Facebook like that. Maybe more so for metaverse games. Just kind of that dopamine, TikTok even, it's all this stuff that goes to show that we're definitely dealing with a new generation of players. I think Ben Simmons is part of that new generation, that Gen Z. And I don't want to sound like an old head because I'm like, a year away from being a Gen Zer. And to me, it's one of those things you look at it and you're just hoping that Ben Simmons can get it, because this team is going to need him in order to continue and move on to these next couple rounds. And so, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of the Ben Simmons situation? I just kind of want to touch on it lightly in this episode of our Boston Celtics Nets matchup kind of preview, or sorry, aftermath post show, because I think it's really, you need to bring this to light, because I've talked about it numerous amount of times. Not to, say like Ben Simmons, like you suck, this and that. I just think some accountability needs to be held to these players, especially when guys like Ben Simmons don't really want to put in that work to get better. Whereas I feel like these other guys, I mean, you see Jason Tatum, like, I made a video all the way back before. He's, he was in the gym doing his Bulgarian split squats, looking huge, looking jacked. Obviously, he's lost a little bit of that muscle just because of the way that the NBA season goes. And you can clearly see that he put in the work and the effort to work on his body, to work on his game. Ime Udoka challenged him. No one's challenging Ben Simmons because he doesn't want to be challenged. And that's the frustration. And that's the reason why the Boston Celtics are moving on to the next round. And the Brooklyn Nets are going to this place right here, Cancun. Right there, I can see Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving getting a little some jet skis over here, celebrating. Hey, man, do your thing. You got the money too. You got the credits. You got everything you could want there. Free drinks, free food, all that you can ask for when it comes to Team Cancun. So they will be joining Team Cancun, and I hope that they do enjoy their stay. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics will be in the playoffs, and we will be kicking some butt, hopefully some bucks. But at the end of the day, kind of looking back at this playoff series, I would say for the Celtics would be this. I guess let's go with Brooklyn Nets, because I think we do need to talk about. I would say this. I think that there's going to be a huge shakeup coming for the Brooklyn Nets relatively soon. I think whether it's a coaching change, whether it's a trade for players, Ben Simmons might be part of that trade. I don't see how this team stays intact next year, because this team has only won one playoff series so far. One. And in the last 2 years, I believe it was what you had. Yeah, because I think one of the players was out, but like this duo has only won one playoff series together, and that to me is not what the Nets need at this moment. Like the Nets need leadership in so many levels. I think this Nets team, I could see Kevin Durant leaving. I don't understand why he would want to stay with this team. I don't think this team is going anywhere. It doesn't have an upward mobility, unless you think Ben Simmons is going to be Defensive Player of the Year type Ben Simmons. I don't see how you can justify keeping these three guys of both Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving on the same team. And the Nets are the only team without a win this playoffs. I mean, that's crazy to think about when you have two guys that could give you 50 points in any given night. Kyrie Irving did not play well tonight. He was 6 for 13 for 20 points. Meanwhile, you had Kevin Durant, who was 13 for 31. Obviously, shot a lot better. A lot of his points came from the free throw line. 10 for 11 from the free throw line. He played better, but the last 3 games that they played obviously goes to show you like what it really takes for this Brooklyn Nets team to win against the Boston Celtics. It takes a lot, and I don't think a lot of people realize that when watching the games, when doing all this like analytical stuff, is that you see the defense that they're lacking. Claxton is more just a big body. Dragic is old. Patty Mills can get you some 3-point shots. Excuse me. Seth Curry can get you going any given night. He'll give you 5 threes a game. Like that's fine. Andre Drummond only gave you 4 minutes tonight because Steve Nash went in a different direction. It's just like I said, it goes to show you the type of mentality that the Brooklyn Nets have versus the Boston Celtics. I wouldn't mind if Steve Nash coached again, to be honest with you. I think Steve Nash, maybe the Brooklyn Nets was too quick of a job for him. I would love to see him kind of have a young team and rebuild that team. I don't think he's going to be a Steve Kerr who comes in there, changes the culture and becomes like an NBA, finals contender. Yes, you have the 2 best players in the world, but it takes other things than that to gel. I felt like there was no adjustments made at times. And I just felt like, as a rookie head coach or as a first-year head coach playing, for your first team ever, I think a little bit more experience was needed for Steve Nash to go and jump into the head coaching route. Again, I think he could be a great coach. I think he has a lot of potential, but I think he needs to start at the bottom. Go with these young teams where you can develop and grow them. Where I feel like the Phoenix Suns did that. I don't feel like the Phoenix Suns were a team that was built through. I think they maybe got some players through free agency, but wasn't a team that was necessarily built through that, right? It wasn't a team that was like, okay, this are the guys that we got. We sign here, we sign there. Like they homegrown these guys. And I just feel like that's what Steve Nash needs to be a coach of. I don't think he can be that guy that does what I would say Steve Kerr does, which is just like be a game manager in terms of dialing up to the next level. Whereas I feel like Steve Nash can be a culture setter, a guy that can build a team. And I just think that that's why you need to bring in Steve Nash. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of the Brooklyn Nets losing in 4 games? Are you guys surprised? Are you guys not surprised? Like, what's your biggest takeaway from the Brooklyn Nets Boston Celtics series? I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for the Charge. Thank you once again for joining us here, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Again, I will be gone Wednesday through Sunday, so there will be some pre-recorded videos out here. So make sure to check those out. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and leave comments in those videos. Again, we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Help us do that. Help us get to that point by sharing this with your friends, by sharing it with people that love basketball, because the more that people watch this, the more that YouTube says, hey, they love basketball. Let's give them more basketball content. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining us here on The Charge. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.